Hello, my name is Sonali and I welcome you to the latest episode of Around the World in 7 Days. Africa, a continent that has immense reserves of natural resources, has become a focal point for the attention of global superpowers. But despite its resource wealth, poverty remains a significant issue plaguing the region. This poverty compels African countries to seek partnership with major powers. Although the relationship is a two-way street, African countries face immense challenges due to the intense competition between these global powers to influence the region. But Africa does not want to take the risk of falling into either camp. This is the reason why after the Russo-Ukraine war, under the pressure of Western countries, African countries neither took the risk of sidelining Russia completely nor accepted Russia's subordination. But what if they have to choose a path? Recently, two such occasions have forced African countries to reconsider their positions. The first such opportunity arose in South Africa, where Russian President Vladimir Putin was expected to attend the BRICS summit in Johannesburg. However, Putin opted not to attend, averting a potential crisis in South Africa. The second occasion was the recent Russia-Africa summit. According to Russia, initially over 40 African country heads were expected to participate. But under the pressure of United States, only heads of 17 countries attended the conference. However, delegates from other 32 countries made their presence felt by attending the conference. Both Russia and United States have substantial influence in this continent, and in the coming time, this area is likely to become a battleground for these two countries. The question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages for Africa in such a situation? How is this going to change the geopolitics of Africa, and how will this rivalry affect India? In today's episode, we will try to find answers to other such questions. Amidst facing criticism over the Ukraine crisis, Russia is also searching for a reliable partner on the international stage. Notably, Africa's 54 countries make up the largest voting group at the United Nations. However, African countries' divergent stances on General Assembly resolutions criticizing Russia's actions in Ukraine have made the engagement complex. This is the reason why Russia is making efforts to attract them towards itself. Meanwhile, the second Russia-Africa summit was organized in St. Petersburg. Despite concerns that Russia's exit from the Black Sea grain agreement might sour relations, approximately 50 African countries defied predictions and participated in the conference. During the conference fostering closer relationships with African nations, Russia also committed to deliver food grains to 6 African countries: Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, Eritrea, and the Central African Republic. Russia announced to deliver 25 to 50,000 tons of free food grains to these countries over the next 3 to 4 months. Additionally, Russia also signed more than 20 arms deals with various African countries. Under the pressure of Western sanctions, some African countries have distanced themselves from Russia, but their relations remain intact. This is the reason that when the United Nations General Assembly voted on the proposal for the withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine on March 2nd this year, only 27 African countries abstained. At the same time, despite the decline in arms sales due to the war, Russia still accounts for 40% of arms exports to Africa. Along with this, Russia is also engaged in expanding economic cooperation with African countries. For instance, Russian companies are involved in mining activities in countries like Zimbabwe and Angola. However, despite the strategic partnership, Russia faces numerous challenges in its engagement with Africa. The first reason is that after the disintegration of the Soviet Union in 1991, Russia stayed away from Africa for almost 3 decades. During this time, several other global powers solidified their presence and influence in the region. Also, the controversial activities of the Russian private military company Wagner Group in Libya and the Central African Republic have drawn international criticism. Russia is also believed to have its involvement in the recent coup in Niger. In such a situation, African countries which have been unstable for a long time are taking their steps cautiously. At the same time, Russia lags behind other countries in terms of economic relations with Africa. Along with this, Russia's cultural influence is also negligible in Africa, while countries like China and India have established strong connections at the personal level through their soft power initiatives. In such a situation, Russia still needs to work more to ensure a more promising future in Africa. Notably, various global powers like the United States, India, and China exert their influence on Africa. In recent times, the US has also given an edge to African priorities in order to keep pace with the changing global dynamics. The US has focused extensively on security and counter-terrorism efforts while also providing development funds to the region. In such a situation, Africa cannot free itself from American influence. At the same time, US is also increasing the reach of its companies in Africa. Despite American engagement, China's presence in Africa has grown substantially. China is building extraordinary infrastructure in Africa. Till now, no country, be it Russia or America or India, has paid attention to infrastructure construction on such a large scale, nor has it been able to assure such a large cooperation. This is the reason why African countries are unable to escape from China's sphere of influence. The increasing Chinese presence indirectly strengthens Russia's position in Africa, which poses a challenge for America's interest in the region. As a result, the competition between American and Chinese companies further intensifies the geopolitical battle for influence in Africa. Africa represents the largest voting bloc, comprising 28% of votes in the United Nations and other multilateral bodies, compared to 27% for Asia, 17% for the United States, and 15% for Western Europe. Therefore, Africa will continue to be the center of geostrategic competition to reshape global institutions and norms, with all the superpowers fighting to establish influence and alliances with the region. It is also important for Africa as it will enhance its bargaining power on the international stage. So that's all in this discussion. See you in the next episode. But before leaving, let's note down a practice question based on today's coverage. How will the presence of Russia and America in Africa influence the global politics? Evaluate.